Hi everyone, this is Purvaja here from Joy of Anubhava, and we are back with another episode in our podcast on books of impact or different skills we want to build from reading different types of literature out there. Today, I have Sri Lakshmi, our design and facilitation lead with us today. So, Sri Lakshmi, what are we going to talk about today?
I think today is a good time to talk about one of the core skills that we focus on, which is self-reflection. So according to me, I think self-reflection is super important, simply because it allows you to take some time, after reading, something, and think about what a book means to us and what we've taken away from what we read. So it's all, as much as it is important to build reading stamina and build comprehension, it's just as important to think about whatever we've read and see what makes sense to us and how we can relate to what we read.
No, absolutely. I think you've hit the nail on the head, because self-reflection is very different from summarizing, which is also an equally important skill, but they are two different things. So, Sri Lakshmi, can you give us an example of how you could self-reflect or make meaning or take away something from a book?
Yeah, I think some questions that readers can ask themselves in order to self-reflect is, can I make some connections between what I read and something that's happened to me, or can I make a connection to something else I've read or something I've seen or watched on TV, or maybe even an experience I've had, which maybe helps me put myself in the shoes of the characters in the book. Another way for readers to build the skill is to ask themselves how that made me feel. Like reflecting on how a character may have felt at a particular point in time. That also helps support with empathy and SEL as well. I think these are some questions that readers can ask themselves to build self-reflection, for sure.
And just speaking about characters and reflecting on what they mean, I believe that you have a pretty interesting take on one of the books that we Joy of Anubhava actually started with. So really curious to hear that.
Yeah. So Swami and Friends, I mean, it's such a, how curd rice is such a staple diet. Part of our staple diet here. I think Swami and Friends was also a part of our staple book diet, at least in school. We either read it in school where we had like a snippet in our textbooks, or we read the whole thing. I read the whole thing and I watched the show, the series as well. So this is a book that's like really close to my heart, simply because of the nostalgia that it carries with it. So yeah, I think I've had plenty of time to self-reflect on this book, and I think an interesting kind of point that I thought, I mean, not to brag, I thought it was interesting, was how the three friends, Swami, Mani, and Rajam, how they represent, or how they're symbolic of different things. So I thought that Rajam, being the son of the superintendent of police, if I'm not wrong, he is privileged. He's had an English education. His father obviously works for the British, so he is westernized to a certain extent. So he kind of represents that section of India who were also very privileged and had access to English education, spoke fluent English, dressed like the way the English do, and so on. And also who supported British rule, who had no problem with the British ruling over us. And then Swami is also he represents that part of India who is also privileged, but more of a middle class kind of what do you say? He represents that person in the middle class who aspires to also have English education simply because it gives us so many opportunities, but still very rooted to his culture and his beliefs. And who's the other one? Money. Money represents, the not so privileged, because Money as a character, he is more of the brawn in the group than the brain, right? So he represents someone who doesn't have too many opportunities. He lives with an uncle who is not very supportive. I don't know if this is from the book or from the series, but I have a vague memory of seeing this. So this was just something that that I thought about. Also how education doesn't really benefit him, like he doesn't like it doesn't help him in any way, and that's the reality for so many children in our country and in the world today, where formal schooling or formal education doesn't really cater to their needs, right? So just something that I thought of. What about you?
That is so interesting. I would have never thought of Swami and Friends as a book that also is a good commentary on different types of schooling systems, and to have that book, to have read that book, that was written in 1935, still have relevance in the world today is quite stunning. I think so. For me, I think recently we introduced this book Amina's Voice in our long-term program, and I think one sort of big takeaway from that book for me, the outside it looks like it's a book about a girl who finds her self-confidence to be able to go and sing in public, and is navigating middle school life as it is in Milwaukee in the US. But for me, what I really took away, and maybe it's because I lived in Singapore growing up, but I really identified with the multiple identities and multiple cultures, and the confusion that someone might face in choosing between multiple identities and culture. And it actually just really forced me to think about the idea of culture and identity much beyond religion. It sort of made me realize that identity can be anything that you choose. And some of our participants, when asked to reflect on this topic, came up with such beautiful responses that it actually changed the way I started seeing the book, and made me reflect on my own childhood and the struggles I had in thinking about, hey, was I Indian? Was I, because I lived in Singapore, did I suddenly become Singaporean? Was I someone who spoke a particular language? What made me who I am, and who was I at that point in time, right? So I think it just made me go back to that period of time and reflect on my childhood.
Awesome. I think those are such important questions, where and it's even okay if we don't have an answer to them, but as long as a book makes you think about that, it makes you reflect. I think that's the sign that that of a good book, I think. So
yeah, absolutely. And Srilakshmi, is there one tip or one tool maybe that an educator or a parent listening to this can use to get their child to begin to self-reflect? Because it clearly is a skill that takes time and practice. So is there something you could share with them?
So I think one way we help build this skill is by getting children to write in their reading log, where we kind of help them track how much they've read, and also we support them with providing them with question stems, similar to what I shared previously in this podcast. So things like questions like, how did I feel? Did I agree or disagree with, something that happened? So one way to build this skill is to have like a reading journal or a reading log where you can make those connections and take time to process whatever you've read and make meaning from it. Yeah.
All right. Thanks, Sri Lakshmi. That was super insightful. And I'm going to take away our conversations on Swami and Friends today for sure. To everyone else listening, please share your takeaway. Was there a book that made you feel differently about a topic, or did you take away something entirely different from a book and you've been eager to share that with the world? This is your opportunity. So please reach out to us and share your perspective and meaning that you've made out of a book and the experience you had while reading it. Until then, signing off here, and we hope to see you in another podcast. Please stay in touch and let us know what you'd like us to discuss next. Thank you. Bye.
Bye, guys.